What is up, friends? And the Fantasy Fest rolls on. Very excited about this one. We are diving into ranks. This is a ranks hour here. I'm Chris Welsh. Thank you to Worm butchering my name. What did he call me? Fitz. He was like, and there's whatever. But the Welsh is here, and I've got two fantastic guys. I got Pat Fitzmaurice, who is my ranks buddy. And if you guys didn't know, me and Fitzy are going to be doing the rank show here on Fantasy Pros all year long, with a special guest that might be in the chat. We got Dave Richard from CBS. This could not be a better segment we're putting together. And Dave, do I see some football cards on the background here too? What is this awesome picture you got going?
Oh, Chris, this isn't just football cards. This is an uncut sheet of 1984 Topps football.
Oof.
Are you familiar with the rookies that are in 1984 Topps football?
Is that my Jerry Rice year, or is that 83? Because I'm a Jerry Rice stan.
Rice is 86, and his rookie
86.
is like kind of a greenish card, impossible to find in mint condition. But
Yes.
can you even make it out?
Yeah, I see Marino. I see Marino in there. I was about to say.
Down here?
No.
John Elway.
Oh. Is he Broncos or is he Colts?
Good luck finding one of these. An uncut sheet from 1984.
All right, we're coming in hot, baby. We're coming in hot with the uncut 84 sheet. I was 1 year old, by the way. So whether that's old or young.
Gracious, I was 8.
All right, so we're aging ourselves a little bit. We're not going to just be talking the incredible cards or on the backgrounds. We're going to be talking ranks, and we're talking running back ranks in this episode. So this is going to be great. We are going to be going into some blocks. We've got RB 1s, 2s, and 3s. We've got some tiers. Fitzy is going to be a little bit of our highlight here, where you've kind of highlighted some players that, Dave, we're going to kind of riff off of and go through. And if you guys have got running back questions, put them in the chat. Depending where we go, we're going to try to get to all of them. Well, we'll try to get to a few of them, not all of them. I think Worm was rocking 1 or 2, so we'll get to a couple of them, but make it really good, and we'll try to get on. So we don't need to waste any more time, guys. Let's just jump right into this bad boy. We are going to be looking at the top 12 running backs here, and I'm going to list these bad boys off for you. As you can see, Bijan, I almost said it wrong. I was about to do it. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley. That's your top 3. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty. There's your 6. Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, and Kyron Williams. Hello to your top 12. You guys can also find all the most updated ranks on fantasypros.com/rankings if you want to check out where the ECR has gone. Now, you see a little highlight there on Jonathan Taylor. Why do you see that? Because my question to you both is going to be, and Fitzy, we'll start with you since you have him highlighted. Which of these top 12, because this is the core, these are like the main guys making cases. I think in some way we could talk out of both sides of our mouth where we go, hey guys, at this certain value, we love these players. So the question, instead of talking about the love, is who do you think is most overranked or ranked too high at this point? And Fitzy, you decided to throw Jonathan Taylor at us. So why do you think in the top 12 ECR, Jonathan Taylor is ranked too high?
Well, I did give you Jonathan Taylor's name, Welsh. I do think these rankings are pretty tight, and there's not a lot of beef with any of them. And so I guess I'm just trying to show how unbiased I am, since I am a University of Wisconsin-Madison graduate, a person who watched nearly every snap Jonathan Taylor ever played in college. And I think JT is one of the 5 best pure runners in the league. But I do think his ECR RB 19 overall and half-point PPR might be a bit too much. 3 reasons why. Jonathan Taylor has missed 16 games over the last 3 years, with a majority of those missed games caused by 3 different ankle injuries. So I kind of worry the ankle injuries are chronic. 2, Jonathan Taylor doesn't really move the needle at all as a pass catcher. He's averaged 1.9 and 1.3 catches a game the last 2 years. And number 3, the Colts probably are not going to have a high-scoring offense this year in light of their murky QB situation. I guess Daniel Jones is going to start the season. I just don't think Taylor is going to come close to matching the 20 touchdowns he had back in 2021. And, I suspect his investors would probably sign a contract if they could get 10 touchdowns from JT this year.
So, Dave, here's something I think it's interesting about this list. Jonathan Taylor, to me, because we're calling this a tier, but in reality, you go and look, and there's probably like 2 or 3, maybe 4 tiers involved through these running backs. Taylor clearly is like a tier down from, I think, what those top 6 are. I know we had a segment earlier about Devon Achane and Fade or You're All In, but like the top 6 to Achane at 7. I think that is like this clear tier where Jonathan Taylor, in my mind, he almost kind of represents the openness of like, you're probably taking wide receivers, you want value. So maybe that's why he feels a little bit too high. But what say you? Do you think Jonathan Taylor is ranked too high based on this? Or do you think there's another name on this list that stands out to you?
No, I think the case that Pat made is pretty good. And I do have to point out that if Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback long-term for Indianapolis, which, I mean, who knows? Shane Steichen said that he wants to give him a long leash. Look at the coach who last did that to Daniel Jones. He's not necessarily anymore in this league. And we saw Dable take over. Look, I think that Jonathan Taylor is definitely capable of having more than 10 touchdowns in a season. He just had 12. He didn't play a whole year. He did solid. And without Anthony Richardson stealing touchdowns, which who knows if that's going to happen over the course of the whole year, Richardson will probably play at some point. I think he's worthy of being pretty close to where he is. If we're talking about catches counting, I, of course, would have him lower, certainly behind Jacobs, Irving, and Chase Brown. But as far as these names go, this is what the top 12 running backs are going to be off the board in pretty much every single draft outside of Buffalo, New York. And it's in those drafts in Buffalo where you might see James Cook crack the top 12 and maybe Kyron Williams comes down. I think Jonathan Taylor is fantastic. The talent is obvious. The offensive line's okay. Pat's right. This isn't a team that's going to score a ton of points, but they've got a guy that will score a lot of their touchdowns, and that'll be Jonathan Taylor. Completely fine with him as a second-round pick in half PPR and full PPR.
I do think it's interesting, though, with the Daniel Jones news that did pop today, that none of our narratives were really talking about Jonathan Taylor. It was immediately turning to like Warren is the first thing we go to. You kind of look at Downs and it's like the possibility of where Taylor could be. I think this could go either way. So the rank too high to me isn't necessarily a dictation of the player, in that I see it as like the drop from Achane to this next group. Like, I'm a Bucky Irving guy, so I have Bucky a little bit higher. It's like, I now want value. I want value. So if I have to take the top of the list, which in this case is Jonathan Taylor, it feels a little ickier to me. Give me the value. I mean, I would actually look at this and say like Taylor, Jacobs, and Irving. That's another little mini tier. Give me the lowest value of that, which in this case is Bucky Irving. So that is what stands out to me. Those are your ECR Expert Consensus Ranks top 12 half PPR running backs that you guys can go and check out. Let's jump over to the RB2s, and we're going to flip the question here a little bit. As you can see, at 13, we got James Cook, 14, Breece Hall, Ken Walker, Omarion Hampton up to 16, baby, Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard at 18, and then your back half of this is James Conner, Travion Henderson, David Montgomery up at 21, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, and AJ Harvey. So we are now going to look at tiered, misranked, one positive, one negative, a running back that should be higher and one that is a little bit low. So why don't we start on the positive? Fitzy, we'll keep it positive here. Who is the player positively that is misranked that you think should be a little bit higher?
Considering the Najee Harris eye injury, I think there's a case you could put Omarion Hampton on tier 1 at the bottom of tier 1. And there's no way Najee Harris is going to be ready for week 1. Like, he's still just working off to the side in training camp. And it seems like a pretty good bet. We don't see much of him for at least the first month of the season. Omarion Hampton is just this terrific rookie prospect, prototypical size, a 94th percentile speed score, big time college production in a power conference, pass catching ability. And now he goes to a team that likes to run the ball. And the Najee injury has Hampton sliding right into a workhorse role. Like, I do not want to be overly conservative on Omarion Hampton just because we haven't seen him play in the NFL, because then I'm going to miss out on what could very well be a dynamite rookie year.
Dave, when you see Travion Henderson there too, and you look at both of these guys and we say, there's a rookie running back that could be a one. Yeah, there's two that could probably be in there. So if you're looking at a positive miss tier, are you down with Hampton as the rookie running back? Or would you make any argument that, hey, you know what, the mistiered guy actually might be Travion Henderson, that he should be a lot closer to Hampton than being getting credit for?
No. I think Hampton is that guy. And the other takeaway that I want to give is that last year we saw this coaching staff recognize talent at the running back position. Pretty early on in the year, they realized that J.K. Dobbins was their best guy and everyone else they had wasn't very good. And what did they do? They gave J.K. Dobbins a lot of work, and it wore J.K. Dobbins down. That's a problem I don't think they're going to have with a younger, certainly healthier running back in Omarion Hampton. And so just kind of playing off that thought that Pat gave with Najee, Hampton's already had like 3 weeks to show this coaching staff that he's better than Najee Harris. It's kind of something we've all known. And so they are going to split reps. Someone else is going to be there to take work away from Hampton, but it's not going to be a lot. And I don't think it's going to be high value touches. I think the case could be made where Hampton actually goes up a tier and is in that top 12. And I wouldn't fault fantasy managers who are worried about regression from James Cook because he had 18 touchdowns last year and worried about Kyron Williams not coming through. We saw his fantasy production hit the cliff last year. He went from like an amazing year to a pretty good year, but still 4 PPR points per game less. Hampton could crawl in there. And so Hampton to me is the one that's just an easy top 15 type of fantasy running back who could easily be top 12, maybe even top 10, maybe if you squint really hard, he could be top 8. That's the type of upside that you certainly want to target on draft day.
Okay, let me get a heat check. I probably know the answer to this. I just said this on a show the other day that I think we're leading into a weekend or two where you're going to start to see Breece Hall tumbling a little bit. Maybe ADPs and ranks are not going to catch up, but there's a lot of negative stuff out there. Dave, Omarion Hampton or Breece Hall?
Hampton.
Okay, that was easy. Fitzy, are you going to do the same?
Yep, absolutely. Hampton.
Okay. So important thing to it's one of those interesting things when you're looking at like live ADP information as well that can be super helpful is that like you have some places that might not have fully caught up and you have even ECR where it might take a tiny bit before Breece Hall comes down. And I think the buzz is turning in the direction of a guy like Hampton, who I think is clearly going to be top 15 and maybe pushing top 12 in the big, most important draft weekends that are coming up for everybody. Okay. So now on the inverse, on this list, you see a nice baby blue David Montgomery. We're like, oh, look, it's so happy. That's his color. It looks great. Nope, because we are now looking at the inverse of these ranks. Who is ranked too high, Fitzy? And we know who it is. So why is David Montgomery ranked too high?
I would just push Montgomery to the bottom of this tier, maybe to the top of tier 3. He has 25 touchdown runs in 28 regular season games over the past 2 years for a team that was 5th and 1st in scoring those 2 years. The offensive coordinator for those 2 seasons, Ben Johnson, is gone. And who knows if the Lions' new OC, John Morton, is going to follow the same usage patterns when the Detroit offense gets inside the green zone. Standout center Frank Ragnow is retired, which is not going to help the inside running game for Detroit. And I don't know, if you guys were in charge of the Lions offense and had Jahmyr Gibbs at your disposal, would you be giving some other running back almost as many touches as Gibbs? Like, I know what my answer is.
Don't you wish, I mean, this could be a negative too, but don't you wish Shanahan was running the Lions and Shanahan just blindly will run 35 carries to Christian McCaffrey. Doesn't matter if his leg is falling off. He'll just like unapologetically go, and you're just like, please give that to Gibbs. Can we have that for Gibbs? We don't have it for Gibbs, but we want it, Fitzy.
Yeah, I mean, so I like Montgomery. I think he's a good player, but he's clearly the second best back in this backfield for an offense that we are maybe worried for numerous reasons could tail off a bit this year. They're not going to score 70 touchdowns again.
Yeah, Dave, I don't know if this is like low-hanging fruit, but like you look at the list and you're like, if you had to pick 2 guys that seem too highly ranked, and maybe there's others. I think people would kind of look at Tony Pollard, but there's like a little bit of positivity with Spears maybe missing time. But like Montgomery stands out like a sore thumb, even though there's, big touchdown equity. It really feels like you're dealing with some like weird floor here. Would you agree that this is like the most standout, too high ranked RB2 in this group? Or is there somebody else you'd like to throw in?
There's somebody else, and it's DeAndre Swift in Chicago, who I am just really not sold on being a fantastic fantasy running back. Can he be okay? Sure, he's been okay for fantasy purposes on a per game basis over the last 3 years. And everybody seems to be really focused on, well, he's the only running back there. They're going to use a second guy. And it might not be somebody you've heard of. Could be a 7th round pick. Could be somebody who isn't on the team yet. But he just, to me, I know he's got this 1 year where he was with Ben Johnson and he did so well with it. And he did so great that Ben Johnson and the Lions traded him the year after that, partially because they upgraded and they got Jahmyr Gibbs. And so Chicago probably will go through this year with DeAndre Swift as their primary running back. I don't think he's going to be used at the goal line. He's going to need to catch a hell of a lot of passes. I'm not certain that there's going to be a ton of, let's call them improvised targets for DeAndre Swift. I think there will be some that are, wired in, and they're going to call screens and stuff like that. But I've watched this team practice. I watched them last week, and the offensive line, I know they added guys to it. They were a mess. They were false starting all over the place. They had Caleb sacked a bunch of times. When they ran the ball, Swift did okay. He could win the edge a couple of times, but he wasn't the only running back in there. Even when Monangai, who's one of their rookie running backs, even when he got hurt in the middle of practice, they were still splitting reps between Swift and somebody else. That's going to happen into the season. When I look at Montgomery on draft day, I think of him as the last best RB2, meaning if I had to have Montgomery as my number 2 running back going into a season, I'd be okay with it. There are other running backs I'd rather have. I'd rather have Montgomery with that touchdown upside than DeAndre Swift without it, especially since I could see Swift just being okay, or even worse, getting competition for playing time that ends up being better than him.
Some good info here. We got Omarion Hampton over Breece Hall, and we got Montgomery and Swift both possibly being a little bit overranked by 2 of the smartest in the industry. If you want to be one of the smarts, make sure you never miss out on your running back targets with Fantasy Pros Draft Assistant. Draft Assistant connects directly to your draft and provides both real-time quick suggestions and estimations on which players might get taken before your next pick. Draft Assistant fully integrates your customized cheat sheets and suggests picks based on your rankings, team build, ADP, a bunch of other factors. Dominate your draft in real time without the guesswork with Draft Assistant at fantasypros.com/assistant or on the Fantasy Pros app. And try it for free during your draft by claiming your 3-day free trial, a 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. Do it today, my friends. Let's jump to our RB3. So this is our tier 3 that we're talking about here. I saw someone in the chat say Isiah Pacheco. Well, guess what, buddy? You're going to get it. Isiah Pacheco comes in at 25, Aaron Jones at 26, Caleb Johnson, Brian Robinson, Joe Mixon, Tyrone Tracy. That's your 25 through 30. Jaylen Warren, Travis Etienne, Jordan Mason, Ramondre Stevenson, Zach Charbonnet, and Javonte Williams. Now, clearly, I think there are 2 names on this list in real-time drafts. This is why go and check out. You want to cross-reference current ECRs and ADPs over the next couple days. Joe Mixon's going to continue to fall, and I believe he might have even fallen just a little bit in the last 24 hours. Brian Robinson absolutely clearly is one of those guys that is on a free fall train. Probably if, State of the Commanders is still going to be at the bottom of that list. So that's not the question, though. We have the RB3s. Fitzy, the running back you believe can jump into an RB2 or RB1, and you picked Isiah Pacheco. So let's hear. I'm a pretty big fader of Isiah Pacheco. I just kind of don't want a big part of it, especially at 25. I want a little bit more value. We obviously know the talent, but Kareem Hunt playing any type of a goal line role. You got Brashard Smith in the receiving side. It seems like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but you're not worried about it because you think there could potentially be RB2 or 1 upside.
Well, Welsh, that's because you thought you were watching Isiah Pacheco last year. You were actually watching the ghost of Isiah Pacheco. He looks like a completely different guy in the preseason than the guy who was trying to come back from a broken leg in 2.5 months last year. I mean, the guy fractured his fibula. He was not anything close to 100% after he came back from a broken leg. I mean, he couldn't wrest the job away from Kareem Hunt. So that shows you how what a shell of himself he was upon his return. He's going to be the lead back in a strong offense. Isiah Pacheco was being drafted in the mid to late 2nd round a year ago. Now we're going to turn up our noses when Pacheco is available in the early 6th. I am not. He's 2 seasons removed from being a high-end RB2 in fantasy points per game. I'm back on board with him. And yeah, we should shrink this tier 3, move Pacheco up to tier 2, kick out Joe Mixon, kick out Brian Robinson. We can squeeze this tier a little tighter.
Kind of the yuck tier, if we're being honest. I look at this list and I'm like, well, there's one guy I like, and there's one guy I might take a shot at. This is like a dead zone here. So what do you think, Dave? You look at this, is Pacheco a guy that really does have the potential to move up in that range, or is there another name you'd like to pick at? And do you agree that this should be the yuck tier? We should just
first of all
officially name it that.
It's definitely a yuck tier. So go ahead and put that in fancy graphics with the emoji, the emoji that's on everybody's phone. But these are the running backs that you're going to stare at if you go 0 RB on draft day. And so if you look at this list and you go, you think about, all right, could I start Pacheco? Sure. Could I start Tyrone Tracy? Well, if it means starting those guys, you've got 2 or 3 amazing wide receivers where, like, I don't know, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Garrett Wilson is your wide receiver 3, something like that. Then yeah, I think you can kind of handle that, assuming that you just pick the right names on this list. And Pacheco, I think, is one of those names. I've got him in my top 24. Last year, before he got hurt, 2 games, he averaged 16 PPR points per. The year before that, he averaged over 15 PPR points per game. The one guy I worry about in this backfield in Kansas City is Kareem Hunt. And it's only for one reason. He's good in short yardage situations. And if he's going to take that role away from Pacheco, it obviously hurts Pacheco's upside. Then again, Kareem Hunt is an older running back, and we know that Pacheco can be physical, can work at the goal line, and he could end up certainly dominating snaps and touches in this backfield. It's still a high-powered offense. I think they bounce back this year. I'm okay with Pacheco right where his ADP is, and kind of like the 24th running back on the board. That's where I have him ranked as 24th.
Let's hear in the chat, who is your favorite yuck running back here? So please drop in the chat your favorite of the yucks, and we'll see, who's out there. We're not gonna put a poll out there because there's too many yucks, but we'll see what we got here. Outside the top 36, I know we said we're in the 36 range. Pat, I'm gonna throw this to you. Which running back outside of the top 36, so not on that list, do you think has the best potential to heavily outproduce their ECR?
All right, the keyword heavily. So we're going to go way outside the top 36. And I know this name is going to be greeted with revulsion. It's maybe Miles Sanders. I mean, hear me out before you start throwing rotten fruit at me. So Miles Sanders is someone you can get at the tail end of your draft. And it's possible he has a substantial role in the Dallas backfield. Like, he pretty much evaporated in Carolina the last 2 years. Yes. But in 2022, Miles Sanders ran for 1,269 yards and 11 touchdowns with the Eagles. He has, for his career, averaged 4.7 yards per carry and 3.03 yards after contact per attempt. And he's got a career breakaway percentage over 6 NFL seasons of 27.7%. So, like, we don't know if Javonte Williams is ever going to be the same after that knee injury from 2022. And the Cowboys might not feel comfortable handing a big role to rookie Jaden Blue, whose work ethic has already been called into question. How many players outside the top 60 in running back ECR have a chance to get 10 or more touches in week 1? I would guess that Miles Sanders is probably the only person on that list.
Dave, would you co-sign this at all? And you're more than welcome. If you got a name outside the top 36, I don't know if we have a graphic for it, but you're welcome to throw it out. But is Miles Sanders a guy do you think could outproduce, or is this even the wrong other Cowboy running back that should be mentioned?
Yeah, I'm just going to go into my guy because I like Pat and I don't want to say anything bad about Pat or the one time he's got an opinion that I disagree with. So let's just go to the graphic of Austin Eckler, who is now finding himself with an opportunity to maybe see a little bit more work than he saw last year with Brian Robinson gone. And the whole world is going crazy over Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and deservedly so. He looked great in a preseason game against the backups on a defense that's going to be absolutely terrible this year. I don't know if he necessarily qualifies as being somebody that can take all of the work that Brian Robinson had and do better with it. Is he quicker than Brian Robinson? Sure. Is he younger? Is he fresher? Definitely. But I look at Austin Eckler as a guy that can certainly see more carries in that Commanders offense and catch more passes out of the backfield. I think they'll especially need him in the first month of the season when Terry McLaurin is starting to get his legs back under him. And we saw last year 3 games when Brian Robinson was out for Washington. So Eckler was the lead back. He wasn't the only back. They're going to use multiple guys like most teams do. But in those 3 games, he averaged 15.4 PPR points per game. He didn't even average 15 touches in those games. So I think he still has a little bit of juice in his legs. He can still catch the ball. And you're getting him at a pretty decent discount, considering he might be the best running back on a playoff team that should score plenty of points as long as Jaden Daniels is around. and that's Austin Eckler. I'm taking him in round 9 at this point in full PPR.
All right, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, 2 backs outside the top 36 in the ranks that we are digging. We are going to answer a few of your questions, so last chance to load up the chat with a couple RB questions. But I want to remind you guys that when this bad boy is over, right after Fantasy Fest on YouTube wraps, it ain't over. Head over to twitch.tv/fantasypros to catch the Fantasy Fest after party. And the after party is with me and my buddy Scott Bogman, where we're going to be doing some mock drafts. It says here we're going to be doing PPR mock. Oh, no, friends. We're doing 2 mock drafts, and we're doing speed round mock drafts, 10-second clocks with me and Bogman under the gun. Could there be hot sauce involved? I don't know. It's going to depend on how many of you are here. If I see hundreds of people, maybe there will be. Maybe there'll be. You don't know what could happen. So that's why you want to jet on over at 7 p.m. Eastern, hang out with us, talk fantasy, watch us sweat, hopefully not from hot sauce, and do some drafts because we're going to fill the draft up during the Twitch, in the Twitch chat. So go to twitch.tv/fantasypros. That's twitch.tv/fantasypros for the after party. Come and hang out with us. All right. A couple questions here under the gun. We got just a couple. Marky Mark says, I got Breece Hall in the 5th round. Will he be my second running back? Is that a steal? We kind of talked a little bit negative about it. Dave, what do you think? 5th round, Breece Hall? Yay?
Awesome value for Breece Hall. He's not dead. He doesn't have 2 broken legs. He might catch 50 passes. I think that's a great time to get Breece Hall as round 5.
Okay. Fitzy, Bucky, JT Brown, full PPR. Which one is the safest bet as an RB1?
Bucky, he was sensational last year in the 7 games where he had 50% or more of the snaps. He averaged 127.3 yards from scrimmage and scored 6 touchdowns.
This question was clearly left for Debro. Can you have too many rookies? Sorry, Debro's not here on the segment, but Dave, can you have too many rookie running backs? Is that possible?
I'm trying to figure out like how to make a big beard with my fingers.
It's like put your hair back just like a little bit more.
Yeah, right. Well, it's pretty easy for me. Yeah, there's such a thing as too many rookies, but if you're taking a lot of rookies at the end of your draft with disposable picks and you figure that a couple of these guys aren't going to make it in the first couple of weeks, then what's the harm in doing something like that? Answer, there isn't any. So it's fine if you end your draft with like 4 rookies and 2 or 3 of them are guys that you took at the end.
Yeah. Fitzy picked up Tracy in the late round. What should I do with him as the season progresses? So this is interesting. Try to trade before Scadaboo comes back, or Fitzy, do you think Tracy's got season-long value?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, your competitors are smart too. They're going to know that Scadaboo might cut into that load, but I think Tracy is going to have a role in that offense throughout the year. Like, he's still the best pass catcher there is, former college wide receiver.
Beautiful. We did it. Again, running back ranks, go and check them out. fantasypros.com/rankings. You can check out all the different kinds. You can check out where all the analysts have them as well. ECR is the consensus rank, but you can really do a lot of studying. It changes day to day. And guess what? This is the big important time. Dave knows, Pat knows, things are changing on a dime. Our boy Bill Krosky Merritt out there flying up ranks. Breece Hall's moving down. It's moving and a shaking, and that's why we got you covered, and that's why Dave has as well. Dave, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Fitzy's going to be sticking along because we are now moving to some wide receiver ranks. So friends, don't go anywhere. Quick break, and we are getting at it with wide receiver ranks right here on Fantasy Pros Fantasy Fest.